Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm so glad you're here. Each week on this show, I invite a girlfriend to join me and we chat about the big things in life, the little things in life, and everything in between. Today's show is brought to you by Nations Photo Lab. Refresh your wall decor with Nations Photo Lab. Choose from classic photo prints, museum-quality canvas prints, breathtakingly vibrant metal prints, rustic wood print wraps, and so much more. Ordering online is easy, so you can turn your Instagrams into instant memories that will last a lifetime. Make every moment matter and try Nations Photo Lab today. Head to nationsphotolab.com and use code HAPPYHOUR for 15% off your order. Happy 250th Happy Hour episode. I can't believe we've made it this far. And I'm so excited because this is a fun show to be the 250th episode. What you need to know is that I have a Post-it note in my office above my desk that I see all the time. And it has on it a list of 7 women that are dream women to have on the Happy Hour. And today, one of them is getting crossed off. She's been on my list since before I ever hit record on the first podcast. Today, our guest is Elisabeth Hasselbeck. Elisabeth is a daytime Emmy Award winner, which she might be the first Emmy Award winner on the show. Someone can fact check me on that. She was a co-host on ABC's The View for a decade before joining the morning lineup as co-host of Fox & Friends in 2013. She's the author of the New York Times bestseller, The G-Free Diet. She also was on Survivor. Remember that, guys, from forever ago? That's when we fell in love with Elisabeth Hasselbeck. Before we sat down together in Nashville, I read her most recent book, Point of View on the Plane. And you guys, I loved it. Seriously, Elisabeth writes about in her book about how she spent 2 very public decades making her point known. And now she is spending the rest of her life pointing to the maker. All throughout her story, it is clear how God was leading her and how his word was the true anchor for her in the midst of many stormy times. Today, we talk about her time on the reality TV show Survivor. We talk about her time on The View and Fox & Friends. We chat about being working moms and moms of teenagers. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I won't even say I was a little bit nervous before the interview. I was very nervous before the interview, but all the nerves quickly went away as soon as Elisabeth arrived. She made me feel so at ease and so comfortable and was so kind to me on the show. She's genuine. And I would say this about Elisabeth Hasselbeck. She was one of the kindest people I've ever met. And I know that you're going to see that in our conversation today and that you're going to love it. So thank you, Elisabeth, for joining me on the Happy Hour. And now I'm crossing somebody off my list. I also want to tell you guys, thank you for listening to the Happy Hour. I just want to tell you, thank you for listening. It is an honor for us to bring you shows every single week that point you to Jesus, that encourage you, that inspire you, that sometimes make you cry, that sometimes make you reevaluate things about your life. We just want to bring you shows that make you think, but we also want to bring you shows that sound like real women having real conversations, and that's what we do here. So I want to say thank you for choosing to listen to the show today. This might be your 250th episode, and if it is, girl, thank you. Or guy, there are a handful of guys that listen. Thank you. But if this is your first episode, I want to say welcome. You're going to find so many other phenomenal women on this show that you're going to love to connect with and listen to and hear their stories. You're going to love it. Here's my request from you guys. I got 2 requests for you. First of all, this is your 250th episode. I'm going to bet money you already subscribed to the show, that you've subscribed, and every single week you open up your podcast app and every Wednesday there is the Happy Hour. But if you don't subscribe, I'm going to ask that you do go and subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go hit subscribe so then you don't have to think about it. It just shows up in your app every single week. What that does is it helps more people find the show. Also, if you like today's show, if you like any shows that you've listened to, we would really love it if you would go over to iTunes and rate and review the show. Now, this can seem like I'm just begging for compliments and asking you to give me 5 stars, which I would enjoy 5 stars if you're handing out stars. But what this actually does is it helps more people find the show. There are so many podcasts to listen to today, and I'm a fan of so many shows. If I showed you my podcast list, you would say, Jamie, how in the world do you have time to listen to all these shows? And I don't have time to listen to all of them, but I get to them when I can because I really love listening to podcasts. Now, you may be that way as well. And there are people out there that are looking for shows like the Happy Hour. So when you rate it, and we'll take your 5 stars, when you review it and tell others what you love about the show, it helps more people find the show. So thank you for listening. Happy 250th episode, Happy Hour listeners. Thank you, Elisabeth Hasselbeck, for joining us. And now here is my conversation with my new friend, Elisabeth. Elisabeth, welcome to the Happy Hour.
Oh, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. Really, really thankful.
Okay, I have two confessions.
Okay,
you ready? We're going to start the show.
Confession time.
One. Number one, I don't get nervous very often when I interview people. I have been nervous to interview you.
Why?
Because I have looked up to you for so long. Like literally when I talk about a dream job, I'm like, I want to be like Elisabeth Hasselbeck. Like literally those words have come out of my mouth more times than I can count.
Oh my gosh.
So I just loved when you were on The View. I looked up to you, all those things. So number one, I'm nervous. Number two, confession hour. There's two confessions. I read your book and you talked about getting thrown. We're going to talk all about this, but you talked about getting thrown into broadcasting world.
Yes.
And how much time you would spend preparing for an interview.
Yes.
And I want you to look at my paper, and I want you to see how much time I spend.
Awesome.
Any interview, there's like 3 points.
Oh.
And then I thought to myself, you know what?
So awesome.
I'm just going to keep doing it how I've always done it.
That's right. You just do you, and you're doing it well. I have to please be encouraged. Like how you are doing what you are doing is exactly how God is asking you how to do that.
Well, you're sweet.
So don't even listen. I learned the hard way to make a lot of mistakes, but you have a gift, and it's such like exuberance and joy and like intentionality. Like just do what you do, and then I'm just excited to be here. Like I look at it's so funny how I think we tend to do this. Like we'll look at each other and be like, that is like I see you, and I'm like, that's goals.
Yeah.
Like that's teen
you're
mom
sweet.
goals.
Yeah.
Like she's mothering teenagers. Like she's doing this thing with like fun and grace and like shoulder to shoulder with them. And I look at that and I'm like, now that's goals for me. So I just right back at you, but just know like where we are is exactly how we're supposed to be doing what we're doing.
It's so true. And I think it's fun. I've come to a stage, I'm 41, and I think I've gotten here. We're the same age?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've gotten over the past couple of years, I feel like I've owned this a little bit more. Not past couple of years. I think I've always had this in me a little bit, and I see this in you as well, is I'm genuinely excited for people with their success.
Yes.
And so it's also fun for me to look around and be like, I love what she's doing.
Exactly.
And I admire that. And I love my job.
Yes.
But I remember thinking like, I want to watch this and I want to learn from this.
Yeah.
So
I think there's something like humility and learning. Like I hope I always learn. I hope I'm always with someone who's like, well, how can I like learn from that and apply it to like my meanness,
what I'm doing,
right? Like what I'm doing, but in my own way. But I do think it's like, there's something about 40 and 41 that's kind of cool. Like 40 was like confusing because I was like, well, what does this look like? And then my body started hurting. I'm like, ouch, this is true. All the things they say.
Things are happening.
And then 41, I feel like has been a year, and you might feel the same way, or it felt just kind of like the ability to breathe out and like, this is exactly who I am. And if I'd see young girls and I'm like, I wish this phase could come to them early.
Yeah,
I feel like it's there, and then it kind of disappears for a little while, and then you get to come back into it. But 41, I think, is fun.
It is fun.
Not just because it rhymes.
I know. Okay, so if you're 41, I'm 41, you went on Survivor, what were you, like 23?
Yes.
22?
Yes.
23.
Yes.
Because I got married that year. That's why I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was 2000, I think it aired. I think we left in 1999, and then it was 2000 when I came back. It was a whole other year.
Yeah, you're like, what happened with my life? Okay, funny story, Elisabeth. When I'm reading your book, you tell the craziest story of going to Giddings, Texas.
Yes.
I was just in Giddings last week.
Yes. Okay, it must be like way more developed now.
Well, no, it's not. So when you're talking about walking around there, I'm like, no, why is she doing this? What's wrong? Don't walk around.
Giddings was good to me, thank goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I had it wasn't a giddy time for me. I was just trying to, I think it was like the pre-Survivor, Survivor, and I talk about it in the book. And it's funny, that chapter was not, this whole book was not supposed to be, at least in my plans, like even here, like I didn't think I had anything valuable to add in terms of story. And then when I was writing about Survivor and that experience for me, which is pivotal, I started writing about the whole application process, and I'm like, Mayday, we've got an extra chapter here.
Yeah, this is good.
There's some story in here. I love that chapter in Giddings because I had never really been anywhere by myself. And I was.
They threw you into just like, I cannot believe.
Yeah.
I literally was reading it going, this was pre-Survivor. Because they're like, if she can handle this.
Yes.
Flying into Austin, getting there. You had no money. asking a stranger if you could borrow their car. I'm like,
so dangerous.
What is happening right now? I literally was like reading the book like, no, don't do it. Run, Elisabeth, no. And you made it.
And
you're alive.
I really feel like God specifically had people like lined up that were going to be safe places for me there.
Like this nice man at the car dealership?
This nice man who's like, I can't rent you a car. I sell them, but you can rent mine. And then he took his car seat out of the car.
That is so crazy.
And then I get to the flight school, but the whole time I'm like being called Amanda, which is so odd.
This is pre 9/11.
This is pre 9/11.
You could fly under an alias?
Flew under an alias, traveled under an alias, rented a man's car under an alias, jumped out of a plane.
Did you have
under
a
an alias?
license? Like
no.
So this is so crazy. Like
they just had a travel ID.
Yeah.
But I just knew all my luggage said Amanda. I mean, it was wild. And so I get there, and this is, obviously before like high security times, but it felt like lack of security for me because I was like, I don't even know who I am. And
Amanda, Elisabeth, what's happening?
And when it came time to, I talk about it in there. I remember being in this plane and being ready to jump out of the plane, and the reason why I talk about it is because I remember in that up to that point, so for all that entire week leading up to the point where I was to jump out of a plane 10 times to get trained to jump into wherever Survivor was going to land us.
The dumb question I'm about to ask.
Yes.
That's how you showed up on the island, was jumping out of a plane?
So we were supposed to.
Okay.
And then I think the jumping out of a plane was a little too risky because just as I was about to, I get pulled back in the plane. And I thought I jumped. I thought I felt like tumbling, but they were pulling me back into the plane off the bar. And they kept screaming at me, Amanda, we've been calling you to get back in the plane. And I'm like, my name's not Amanda. My name's Elisabeth. And like everyone just stopped. Like we're in like altitude, okay? And everyone just looks at me like, wait a minute.
What's happening?
Her name's, and the point of that is just really you can try to be someone else for a little while, but it might cost you. It could cost you life. You could end up jumping into something you don't want to jump into. When you do it, you are not capable because God only gives you the capabilities and the calling and all that you're equipped to do when you're within His will as the person He created you to be. Yeah. So my limits were felt soon, and they were like, who the heck are you then? And why are you in this plane? And when it comes down to like those emergency, intense situations, you really, and we have those in life more than we think, you really can't be anybody else well.
You got to be who God made you.
And you're not going to be called by anybody else. He's going to call you by name, made you specifically to be who you are in the situation you're in. So if you were trying to be anything else, my dad used to tell me, he's like, you're always going to be second if you're trying to be somebody else. God made you to be you.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a lesson, like, unfortunately learned the hard way for me, but thankfully in the right second where you cry out. When things get tough, you cry out your own identity because you just want to be known, particularly when things get hard. And so I think that's what that was an illustration of for me, like, whoa, I am not who you think I am. Like,
and I can't do this anymore.
I can't do it anymore.
Have you ever jumped out of an airplane now?
No. I have no desire. I had no desire then. I have no desire now. I don't even want to fly in an airplane. I don't even want to travel.
Like flying.
I don't even want to travel with like a ticket and a seat. I just like to stay where I am.
That is so funny.
No, I will fly some places when there's a calling or a lacrosse tournament or something. But
or
I don't
vacation.
enjoy it. I'm not like that part of it I don't love.
Yeah.
But you're good at that.
Well, it's just part of my job.
Yeah.
And I was just telling someone the other day, I used to think when my husband used to travel all the time and I was at home with our kids, and I used to think this would be the life. And I feel very confident that God has me where I am.
Yeah.
It's an honor to speak to women at churches. But traveling it's not glamorous.
It's not.
It's not glamorous at all.
And I'm like that person who wants to make sure I have like every bit of like, it must be from Survivor, like snack with me. And like I turn into like this like plane hoarder.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And then when I'm by myself, I sort of feel like under purpose. Like I don't have any.
What am I doing here?
Advil with me. Like why not? So I do, but I have learned to enjoy the in-betweens a little bit more. Because I think that even in the midst of like that flight, like I'm sure there's someone who just needs your like smiley eyes, like looking right at him, you know? I think that there's someone, Jamie, who sees you and who like is so blessed to like sit by you and even just maybe get a word. You just never know. And so the in-betweens for me are something that I used to just kind of want to disappear and just get where I was going. But I've really sort of settled into like the in-betweens. Like, God, you have me in between here and there. Like, what do you have for me in that? And there's still so much purpose in that. And I love that. Okay, so maybe I'll get better.
You didn't jump out the plane, but you did go on Survivor.
Yes.
Some of my listeners are going to be, they were kind of young for this. They probably need to go back and watch it on, can you watch Survivor on Netflix?
That version
still
is so
on,
old.
Isn't it?
I was on the second one. It's hard to find. You have to go like get the DVDs. Those are digital video
people are
discs.
like, what's a DVD? Yeah, I know. You got to go fix it up. So you go on Survivor.
Yes.
Your life changes. You even write in the book that when you came home, you kind of wanted this normal. You wanted back to normal, and you had this kind of the thought of, I don't think that normal looks the same for me anymore.
Right.
And I think one of my questions for you is when you had that realization, you endure Survivor, you learn a lot, you make friends, you make good choices. In fact, you told them when you were going in, I'm not going to be cutthroat. You can do this and be kind, which we all love. And that's what people fell in love with Elisabeth for. You come home and you realize, I don't think normal looks like like I thought it was. Did you push back against that? Or were you like, okay, God, what's next?
No, I like ran away from the whole idea. I thought, I had traveled in college on a trip to teach kids in Belize, and I sort of equated this trip to that it would have this like depth and meaning and adventure to it. And I really went trying to figure out what I was made of and figured out quickly, not much without God. And when I came, I think it was so moving for me spiritually in a way I couldn't articulate yet. I didn't really know how to put a word to it, but I knew for sure that it wasn't just for everybody. It felt super intimate to me. And so I kind of got strangely, I'm not introverted by nature, I don't think, but I became this like introvert ambivert where I just wanted to kind of hide and get things back to normal. And I ran quickly back to my mentor in design and started designing children's toothbrushes, like the electric toothbrushes and anything I could just to keep life as normal. I was grasping for it to be the way it was.
And was Tim still in college or done?
Tim was in his 5th year.
Okay.
So he was just finishing up his 5th year at Boston College. And I knew, when I left, I could kind of see life ironing out for me. And I think it's why I wanted to shake things up a little bit and see what I was made of without all the support and love. And I think God was like, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm really not asking you to shake away all the people that I placed in your life. And I think sometimes we mistake like uber comfort sometimes for like, what am I made of without that? And God's like, no, you're made to be exactly where I have you with these awesome people near you. Don't shake them off and try to go do it on your own.
So you feel like you kind of need to prove yourself. Like I can do this without the strong people around me.
Yes. I didn't know what it was like to fail. I didn't know what it was like to be without my comforts. I had a really supportive family, an awesome boyfriend in Tim.
Yeah.
His family was so kind to me. I had a great team, had a great experience. I was like, what is it like to feel like hurt or hungry?
That's a big girl feeling, because for a lot of people, they'd be like, I don't want to feel that. Like, I feel pretty comfortable right here.
Yeah.
What is that in you that says, I kind of want to test it a little bit?
Yeah. I kind of like
things. You've kind of seen that, like in the rest of your life. Haven't you seen that come up in different ways?
Okay. That's a point I don't know if anyone's made to me, but yes, I do I think I seek like the hard. Like, how much can I take and withstand? And I think one of the lessons I've learned is that God has placed us in these situations, but he's not placed us in them alone, and certainly not without the people around us, and certainly not without him.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I thought, well, who am I by myself? God's like, oh, funny child.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not by yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you might try.
Yeah.
And I think too, I really wanted to be there, but not forget who I was. I went in pretty self-focused. Like, that, I guess, young 20-something, like, I need to remember who I am. And I wear this headdress of, like, this is to remember my mom. This is to remember discernment, my black and white scarf. And this is to remember my creative self, my designer self. And it's funny because that headdress was my survival item going in. And then Roger Bingham brought a Bible, and his survival item became ours.
Yeah.
And it was really the thing that got me through. Like, the Word of God was the only thing. I didn't need anything on my head.
Yeah.
I needed a headdress to tell me who I was. I needed the Word of God in the midst of snakes and spiders and dirt surroundings to tell me who I was, not this headdress. And that was something that, I think we do as women a lot. We put these things on us, we like attach things to us to tell people and ourselves who we are, when God's like, no, I tell you who you are. Take that headdress off. Take your fascinator off. Take everything off of you, all the patches, all the labels, all the committees, all the friends, all the lunch groups, all the things you do. Even in service, sometimes we're like, this is who I am. And we put all these things on us like a big survivor headdress to tell us and everyone else who we are. And God's like, take that off and make room for my crown. Like, you're leaving no room for my crown when you attach all these things to you, trying to tell the world who you are. And all you need is my words about you. I get to say who you are. And so that was one thing that I think, looking into that time, and I don't even know that I've thought of it that way until this minute, because you're so good at what you do to dig that out of me.
Well, I even think, like, when you talk about, you say that you brought the headdress, Roger brings the Bible, and you've said now and in your book that became like our rock. It was like we would read this and it would remind us of who we are. And then I read your book, and so I know what you told us you depended on for the next 15 years of your broadcasting journey was you would say every morning, I needed to first get in the Word before I talked or before I did this. And so I can't help but think, man, you went into that Survivor experience like, I'm going to figure out who I am. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to take this, remember. And then God was like, here's my Word. And remember, this is what you need. I love it so much.
It was like a pillow in the Australian outback. I'm telling you what, it was.
Was there anyone else that read it with y'all?
Our whole tribe read it together in the morning. He would read it. Anyone who was there and wanted the Word would listen to it. But it was...
We didn't see that on TV, I don't think.
I think one point they may have shown it. I actually didn't watch it. We came back. I watched it with our family, but I was like nearly blacking out every time I would see it live.
Because you're like, I lived this.
So uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm still processing this and like a little post-trauma probably from it a bit. Even though it was finite, it was still a physical challenge. And then I hadn't watched it again until I turned 40. And my husband surprised me with a Survivor party. And I just like smelled the tiki torches and I almost ran the other way again. I'm like, I had to get out of here. What are you doing?
So how was it watching it?
Well, we watched it with the kids.
Has your kids seen it before?
No. They hadn't even really known it, but they didn't know.
So I mean, you're not waking up every morning being like, kids, let me remind you.
Yeah, mommy's a survivor.
Mommy's a survivor.
Don't mess with me. I should have used that. I could have. It would have been a great like card to throw at them. Like, do you know you can't wait in line? Mommy can.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what?
8 hours.
That's right. Mommy can wait. I waited that long on a log with an alligator in the scorching heat and a thunderstorm, okay? You can wait
That's right.
in Walmart with me.
Elizabeth, let me tell you, I would have pulled that card, just so you know. That card would have come out a long time ago. So how was it watching it with your kids?
You know, it was funny because one of them, who's probably more quiet, was really worried about me the whole time. I'm like, dude, I'm okay. I made it. I'm right here. But it was sweet. I think they saw a little part of me that maybe because I'm kind of a scaredy cat now, to be honest. I mean, I'm pretty much and maybe it's just from having 15 years reading a lot of news stories too. I can go to fear pretty quickly. And so I'm an optimist by nature. I'm an extrovert by nature, I think. But I think what I walked into career-wise in my private world made me a little bit more introverted and a lot more scared. And so I think I kind of can go there sometimes when things get stressful. Like I think because I'm a natural first responder, I kind of assess like what the worst situation is and like, do I have water for the fire?
Right.
You know, I can go there. And so I think watching it for me was healthy because I could see it and be like, well, that seemed really hard at the time, but look where we are now.
Right.
And isn't that so many times we do that? We go through these things or whatever our survivor season is in life and we walk through it. Or stumble through it. And you can't even imagine being on the other end of it. And then you watch it years back and you're like, we're okay now.
We made it.
You know, like where's that? I wish I could have a little bit more of that in the midst of the hard. But that only comes through the Word of God. You know, that's hope and that's trust.
Yeah. You summed up your life very early in the book, and you said that I'm going to read a paragraph from your chat.
Okay.
It's like I'm doing your audiobook for a second.
I'll make edits as you do. I needed a comma there.
Yeah. As I look back on this adventure-packed path that God had placed me on, from being a walk-on college softball player from Cranston, Rhode Island, to dropping into the Australian outback by plane on season 2 of Survivor, to voicing my thoughts and opinions on The View, to hosting a news program on the Fox News channel, I still blink a few times. This journey assures me that God has already written my story. He's been there all along, at every juncture, failure, and next turn, putting things back into focus. He's the ultimate lens crafter. And I love that you started out, the chapter was talking about how we view things. Your book is called Point of View.
Yes.
But I think I always like talking with younger women. We've already said we're both 40. I like seeing these younger women and saying, you have no idea. And even us, you and I,
no idea.
Have no idea what the next 20 years holds.
Idea.
Isn't that crazy?
I stopped planning.
Right. I'm like, we could never even design our lives, the good and the bad, the awesome and the hard. But you said, even though this is never what you thought it would look like, you have felt God kind of directing your paths every single time along the way. And I think that's encouraging for us listening as followers of Jesus. But I think it's also a good reminder, you know, because things haven't always been easy for Elisabeth Hasselbeck. I mean, you know, you've walked through some really hard seasons within your personal life, within your career. And so I want to ask you a question. Do you remember their first day on The View after you had the job, not when you were interviewing?
I think so. Well, probably not. I blocked out most of it. It's called self-preservation, friends.
You were on The View for 10 years. Okay, right?
I remember getting the job and turning in the chair. And then I think one of my first days might have been interviewing Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. But
Which
that may
is
have been
so crazy.
I know, it's wild. That may have even been part of the interview process. I'm like, this is intense.
This is even why I'm interviewing Elisabeth Hasselbeck, who has interviewed two presidents, okay? Yeah. Secretary of States, had dinner with the Queen, all these things. Do you sometimes look back at your life now? You even said to yourself, you said you spent 2 public decades making my point, and now you're spending the rest of your life pointing to the maker. You said that. Yeah. Do you sometimes look back on those 2 decades and go, who is that girl?
I do.
Or do you look back and go, it's me, but it's just different now?
I think I look back now and think, what was God doing with that girl? You know, I think God knows that I have an obedient heart. I'm a firstborn kind of rule follower, so I don't really want to break the rules. I like adventure, but I like boundaries. And so I think I've always had a willing heart, and I'm not sure. I think my faith was kind of cracked open. My mom was sick when I was in high school, and I think I learned to trust that there was something bigger and that you had to rely upon something in difficult circumstances. So I was never afraid of anything difficult. I also played baseball, so you strike out a lot, and that's a really healthy thing to do because it's like, whoop, there I go again. That was a mistake. Yeah. And then you do something again. You do the next best thing. Yeah. But I think when I look back at life, I do think about, and even with this book, Jamie, like, I usually write about gluten-free muffins, and that's fun. Like, we get a lot of baking done in my house. The kids are well fed. Tim's like, cool, we get to try pancakes again. But I think that I actually think he had me, even in the process of writing this book, he just needed my attention. There's always something he's doing. Yeah. And we do this as women sometimes to really focus on what we're doing for exactly what it is. But I think God's always, it seems to be for me in my walk, he seems to be using my circumstances to get my attention. He just wants more of my heart. Like, ultimately, God just wants our hearts, and he wants our full attention. And I tend to get very distracted very easily with worthy causes, you know? So I think as soon as I got quiet enough to write this book, he knew that it was the right time to do the work in my heart for things even outside of it. Like, relationships have been healed because I had spent so much time in the Word, more than I ever had, in the writing of this book.
In the process of this book,
terrified. I was like, I am terrified to look back and like, what did you, God, what did you, through your lens, want me to see in this writing process about that time at The View? How do you want me to articulate this time at Fox News? How do you want me to articulate getting fired? How do you want me to articulate having different positions on issues? And so it was and the only way to do that was to spend time in the Word. And so I think he just knew he could get my whole attention, because I would be so desperately scared to do this that I would have to like only fall on his words in order to articulate the ones he gave me in this book. And so the cool thing is that I'm not a journaler. Do you journal?
No.
I do not.
I think I should, because everyone does.
You're very in the moment. This is why. We're like in the moment people. Yes. And I feel like when you're like that, the trick is you're really with people and you're right there. My daughter would say, Mom, you're really bad at leaving because you're like so with the person you're with that you lose track of time. You're just really bad at time. Yeah. And so I'm bad at like journaling. And there was a time in my life I think I was great at it, and then things got busy. And that happens too. Like we're not like journaling about ourselves, or I don't write things down enough. But this was a huge look back.
Because you had to go back.
I had to go back. I'm like, what was I doing there? I wasn't qualified for any of those jobs. I went to school for painting.
Which you do quite well. I've seen some of your paintings. Way to go.
Listen, I mean, like, not qualified to be interviewing the President of the United States for the 4th time. Right. Like, hello, somebody help a girl out. But I think the cool thing is for young women is sometimes I think we think about God's plan for our lives. You know it's there. It doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you give up on, like, seeking and being like, is this right? It's a giving over in order to totally trust and submit your plans to his will and then watch what he does. Yeah. And then the more time you spend in God's word, the more you understand the sound of something that's off tune. You know, like sometimes I didn't catch that in life sometimes. And you can get ahead of God. Like I can, because I'm driven and because I'm a go-getter and because I'm a responder, I like to like be like, sure, I'll go. Yeah. That sounds like I'm going to be there. But the times where I've learned the hard way and God's like, I'm going to instruct you because you went left instead of right, lovingly, have been when I get ahead of his call. Yeah. Like he wants us to like sometimes be still and listen to him so that the next step is his instructive step. And that's hard for me. Yeah, I bet. Because I want to be like, I'll go everywhere, do everything. Yeah. He's like, I am not asking you to do that. Right, right. But I think with The View and Fox, and it was always opportunity to learn from awesome teams. Yeah. And just rely on his good news before giving an opinion on the hard news. or reading the hard news was essential for me.
I love what you talked about that especially when you went over to Fox, you're not just giving your opinion anymore, but you're giving news, is that you were really diligent. You talked about of getting in the Word before you did that.
Okay, guys, I know you're loving my conversation with Elisabeth, but I want to stop right here and thank two of our sponsors that make the show possible for you to listen to today. The first one I want to thank is ZipRecruiter. Finding a new job is a lot of work. What if you had your own personal recruiter to help you find a better job? This sounds like a dream, you guys. Now, ZipRecruiter's technology can do that for you. Just download the ZipRecruiter job search app. Let it know what kind of jobs you're interested in, and its technology starts doing the work for you. The ZipRecruiter app finds jobs that you would like, puts your profile in front of employers who may be looking for someone just like you. If an employer likes your profile, ZipRecruiter lets you know. So if you're interested in the job, you can apply. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated job search app. And based on a third-party survey, 7 out of 10 people who found a new job on ZipRecruiter increased their salaries. Bam, I like that, people. Download the free ZipRecruiter job search app today and let the power of technology work for you. Don't wait. The sooner you download the free ZipRecruiter job search app, the sooner it can help you find a better job. The second people I want to thank for sponsoring today's show is ThredUp. If everyone bought one used item instead of a new item for a year, we would save 5.7 billion pounds of carbon dioxide emissions. That is why I love ThredUp. The world's largest online consignment and thrift store, they are on a mission to get people to think secondhand first. With up to 90% off on-trend brands like Reformation, Kate Spade, Nike, and Free People, it's easy to stay stylish and sustainable on a budget. Plus, ThredUp is offering our listeners a special offer for an extra 30% off your first order when you go to thredup.com/happy hour. That's 30% off their already discounted prices. I have used ThredUp before. You saw my Easter dress. I bought some shoes on there that I wore the other day that people could not believe that I got them secondhand. I have shirts I've gotten from ThredUp that I will be packing in my trip. I love shopping with ThredUp because it's so easy to find the clothes that you want. And then you're saving money, first of all, and you're saving the earth. For a limited time, they are offering our listeners an extra 30% off your first order when you go to thredup.com/happy hour. That's on top of the already low prices, so hurry and take advantage. That's ThredUp, thredup.com/happy hour. thredup.com/happy hour for an extra 30% off today. Terms apply.
You talked about your time at The View. And one thing that I think is sometimes hard for Christians is to have discussions about things that we don't agree on. Mm-hmm. And you had to live this life for 10 years of being most of the time, the lone man with a specific conservative view on a subject. Mm-hmm. What did you learn, and how can you help us who are listening of how to have these hard conversations? Because I would imagine, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, I would imagine you grew a lot in this area because you were forced to. We can get in a groove of just kind of having conversations with people who are like-minded with us, and that's easy and that's fun. And I'll be the first to admit, I would rather be there because it's not stress on my life. But I also want to have those conversations, and I would imagine that you learned how to have those in front of millions of viewers, which is hard. But help us learn. How do we do that? How did you learn? If you get to the end of your 10 years and you would say, man, God showed up this way. He showed me this. This is what I learned the most of how to engage in conversation with people that I love and people I like, but I don't agree with.
You know, I think you're really good at what you do, asking questions, because you got me thinking this morning. I'm like, wow, I'm deep thoughts here. I do think for 10 years at The View, as women, we got together and we took on some really hard topics, heartbreaking ones, and ones that weren't just political. They were personal. You know, a lot of them were personal because everyone brings their own heart into a discussion. And I think the times that it went poorly, and I'll start there because I typically learn the most from my mistakes, or when I did not acknowledge someone's heart in a hot topic. So it's really a heart topic. And I think if we can kind of go about them talking about the heart topics, like the why behind the what, why do you feel this way? I feel like the times that I went on just holding so tight with both hands, like a double grip on the topic and position that I wanted to hold, doesn't really allow you to hold hands with anybody else. So when you have double white knuckle fists on something in a position, you're afraid that if you let go, who the heck is going to hold on to it? That's where I was sometimes. And if I could look back and even go back and maybe just re-illustrate some of those moments, I probably would take a hand off and be able to, with my constitutional, beautiful rights that we have in this nation, hold on to my faith beliefs, hold on to my political beliefs, but at the same time, let go enough to hold the person's hand next to me that doesn't hold those same beliefs. And I think that's what we are not only able to do, but afforded the right to do. And so those are the conversations that have gone so well. Whoopi Goldberg and I are the closest of friends because we have been able to have what I call like Godversations, really hard conversations about tough things with grace and peace and with the intention of being people together. You know, I write in the book, I don't think we're going to get to the gates of heaven and God's going to make a tunnel for us and be like, child, you were so right about everything. Like, it's not our calling to hold on to positions that we stand for more than to hold hands with one another and the God we stand under. Like, I really believe, and I don't know that I was mature enough in my walk at the time to surrender that double grip on positions. And I'm not asking anyone to step off of their God-given, afforded rights that we have, men and women sacrificing their lives for every day. And the fact that we can breathe out our beliefs should be something that we enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. You know, so I look back and I think someone sometimes described the view as a cat fight. And I'm like, gosh, that totally undermines the value of women at a table taking these topics on Monday through Friday with millions of women watching every single day, every single set of 15 minutes, 1 million eyes and ears where pairs of them were watching and listening. I think that was a beautiful thing that we were able to do, and it should be celebrated. And sometimes it does get hot. You know, these topics have passion in them. Not for 1 minute would I ever say we should have had a passion-free discussion on them, but it's with the intention of getting to know the other person more. Just the why behind it, I think, is the key. So I'd encourage anyone out there. We have a God who wants us in relationship with people, and he's not asking us to forfeit that. Like, we have a God of relationship. We have a God who wants us with people more than being right on things. And I lived that for 10 years, and there were some personal relationships that I've had that took a backseat to holding a position on something. And so I think the beauty of what God's taught me in this time is that we're to be at peace with one another when it's up to us. That's his word. Yeah. And so doing that just requires asking more questions. And I think the hardest thing is when you feel like someone's not hearing you. Yeah. And that you just have to surrender your pride. That's good. That's okay if you don't hear me. This is where I stand. Yeah. This is where I am right now. But holding on to our beliefs is one thing, and just releasing one hand enough to hold someone else's, I think is key. And literally, I've been able to only experience that through someone like a Whoopi. You know, who she loves my children. I love her. We are like true sisters in a walk where we don't have to think the same. We just have to love the same. Yeah. And if I didn't experience that with her, and I have such a soft spot in my heart for her because she has been generously loving to our whole family. And sometimes we think the other person is crazy. Right. Like, we're like, you're so wrong. Yeah. But it's okay. Yeah. Like, you don't have to change someone's mind. God's not asking us to do that. I think that's really good for us to remember. And you, fortunately and unfortunately, had to walk that road in front of millions of people. And I'm sure there were some times where you felt, I'm the only one here saying this. My grip needs to be so tight. And then just learning that my grip can be looser and I can still be strong. It's important for us in our day-to-day life when we're not sitting on The View discussing hot topics. And listen, there are some things that I think are not, I don't bend on, but I don't need to be harsh about. Yeah. You know, like, I think life has value. I really have things that I just believe are the word of God. So if that's where I place my identity, and if his word is true, then I'm not to change what I believe based on how I feel about something, unless his word changed. Right. And last time I checked, it hadn't. But, no, it won't ever change. But I think it's just a matter of holding on to both. You know, he really just wants us to be, I think, with one another and getting to know more about the whys. And the more, truthfully, I mean, I interviewed the President of the United States, Barack Obama, 4 times. I think it was twice when he was running as a candidate and twice when he was the president. And when we're talking there, one of the questions was a political, financial question that I was afforded the right to ask him. And the second one was just about being a dad. Yeah. And so I think that the most beautiful thing is you can see someone who might have a different stance on something than you. Yeah. And I'm just a mom.
Yeah, they're still parenting
You know,
kids.
he's a dad. Like, we're just trying to have a conversation as two human beings created by the same God. And I think that if we can kind of get back to that, everything should be okay.
Yeah.
You know, but it does take a second spot for your views on things behind the lens of, you know, I'm talking to a brother in Christ.
Yeah, yeah. Did Tim watch the show when you were on it?
I think it stressed him out. I think he was.
Did you go home and be like, you're not going to believe? Or was it you left work and you went home and you were making sandwiches?
There were some hard days where I was not making anything but like spot for my head to bang on the wall.
Yeah.
I think that I think he would rewatch something with me if I was like, was I way off? Like, and he's a protector, so he was really careful to not let me be overly consumed with what happened that day. But I have a heart. I mean, even when I was at Fox, I couldn't really let things go because I have FOLPD, fear of letting people down, self-prescribed and self-diagnosed. I really felt like, did I let someone down?
So you would replay events
yes.
over and over and be like,
could I have done that better?
Yeah.
Should I have not done that? Could I have said that better? And there were some days I really messed up.
Yeah.
You know, your words come out fast.
Oh, I cannot even imagine. In fact, I said this morning that I always have thought, man, Elisabeth's job on The View, like dream job. I read your book and I'm like, I don't really know if that's a dream job anymore. This seems really hard.
I mean, there were some fun moments. I got to do a Segway race with Justin Bieber.
Sure.
That was fun.
Someone's doing your hair and makeup.
Amazing. Lashes,
yes.
lots of lashes.
Picking out clothes for you. And then there's the conversations and I'm like, I would be sweaty and then I'd be nervous and
I would nervously eat like 4 protein bars before a show just because I really felt that it was all on me at times. And the truth was it wasn't, you know, and I remember when Sherry Shepherd came to The View, it was like God literally dropped an angel down in front of me and we would just pray before. And it was such a instructive time for me on just out loud prayer.
Yeah.
Like I was been quietly praying in here.
And now she's like, let's bring it out.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that you wrote about in the book is when you started to catch on that you might be leaving and they were bringing in people to like guests. And I could just see like the way you write about it, I could see you kind of looking around like, this is weird. She's really into those notes way more than a guest host would be. And I was like, oh, I wish I could have been like Elisabeth's friends because she'd come home. She'd be like, you're not going to believe someone else is trying out for me. I could just imagine. But I also could feel when you were writing about it, the pain of feeling undermined for I'm about to, you know, be outed. And so I enjoyed you talking about that of just real life, real struggles, real pain.
Yeah, that was painful. And listen, years before in like some fiery moments, I was like, you know,
I'm out.
Let me get rid of me, you know, with bigger words. And I didn't love that about those moments, but I really wanted to be there. I think ultimately I wanted to be there. I felt called to be there. I felt a purpose there. And I think when you feel something's going away from you and you're like, how could they take this away from me? The biggest thing that I learned was it was not mine. It just wasn't mine. Anything you hold on that tight to, and maybe it had become a little bit of my identity. Maybe my purpose there became so much of who I was that without that I wasn't sure who this girl was. Well,
you did a lot of growing. I mean, you were young when you got that job.
I was a baby.
Exactly. And so you think, I mean, I look back and think, man, I've grown up so much since then. I've evolved, like the way I handle things.
Sure.
And here you are thrown into this huge platform and you're like, I'm a baby. You were married, right?
No, I had just gotten married. You
had all of your kids while working there.
All of them.
Yeah.
We brought them out like Lion King. It was like a big like celebratory moment. We did, and it was, I mean, I really grew into my womanhood there, and I'm thankful for the chance to be able to like exercise my thought on where do I stand on certain things, or what does this sound like, or, you know, it was a charge. It was not a boring time at all. It was the easiest mom hours ever, 9 to 12, Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, depending on who was in charge. And I learned a ton. I was so sad to leave. I was so sad because I thought, well, just tell me what I was doing wrong and I'll fix it.
I love that you said that because I could see that in your personality. Like, I'm good, guys. What is it?
What do you need? Like, do you want me to rearrange my office? Do you want me to like, outside of like forfeiting my rights to articulate
your opinions and your views?
I literally would have done anything. And so, I'm like, what do I need to work on? Just coach me up. I'm a walk-on. You know, I could get this thing done. And it was gone. It was already gone. But I think God's always preparing you for something. And when he knows that you will not leave, he'll help you.
Yeah.
You know, God just knew there was protection in there and destination. The trouble was, I think in my next step, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit.
With your next job?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think
because you're like, this is what I do. Where do I do this next?
I was like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
No, there was like total pride in that.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm like, God, I surrender, and I went through this gratitude movement, and like, I'm going to go through this firing period that I can't even talk about, and I wasn't allowed to, with gratitude. And it really changed my heart, and it changed how I saw the process. As soon as that was over, I was like, well, I'll show them I can still have value.
Yeah.
And so I went, I think God probably was asking me to hold a year.
Yeah.
But I went ahead of his call on that one. But he met me.
How long was it before you were with Fox?
I think my last day was in June at the View, May or June. And I started with Fox in August or September.
Oh, the same year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, girl, you were like, I'm on this.
Mm-hmm.
I got this.
Mm-hmm. I had responsibilities.
And Barbara helps you?
I'm like, we have a mortgage. We have 3 children. We've got to, and I'm not going to let them think that, they can just kick me out without a place to go. But Barbara actually was essential. I think I asked her, I'm like, can you please help me? I need help.
Yeah.
And she did. She stepped in for me where she didn't have to.
Yeah.
And she made a call for me. But I still think, I talk about the book about going ahead of the base call of God. And I was a pinch runner in college. And I remember just trying to prove myself all the time. I was a walk-on, barely made the team. My dad made me try out. He was right. I made it because I was fast. And I finally got a chance to be on base during a championship game. And I'm like, I had already decided I was going to steal home.
Because you wanted to be like, I'm going to win this game for my team.
I'm going to prove to everybody why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
Walk-on's going to win the game. This is like how it should be.
This is a
like
news story
fairy tale
right here. Yes.
Right here, my moment. And I get on base, and I'm looking at my third base coach, and I hear the bat crack. It's behind me, and I go to take round third to take home, and I see my base coach with 2 arms up. Not praise hands. Those are like
this is
total
stop.
like stop.
Yes.
Okay. And I blow by her, and I try to steal home, and I was so out, and I describe it detail in the book because it was very painful. Catcher's glove on my leg. I think I still have a broken leg from it. I was so out. And I went ahead of her. And I remember flying at me being like, that was not your base to steal. That was not your base to steal. And she was fuming. And I'm like, I know, that was not my base to steal. And I think about that time a lot because as I took that base and I was stealing home, I do that so much in life. I literally blow by the best base coach's hold sign ever, and that's God. He can see the whole field.
Right.
He sees what's ahead. He knew that I was going a little too fast around the corner to get to Fox too soon. I think it was there a year after for me, and I went ahead a little earlier.
Yeah.
But the good news about God is, unlike my base coach, who was awesome, one of the best coaches ever, is that he wasn't running at me with like fiery eyes.
Yeah.
Like he literally meets us in the base path, totally dusts us off, cleans off all that irony clay, makes us new, and literally carries us home.
Yeah.
And God says to me, and this is something that came to me after the book, he says to me, like, you're trying to steal home, but you cannot steal something that's already yours. Mm. You can't steal what's already yours because I've given it to you. I've paid it for you. And so when it comes to salvation, sometimes I think in life I may have gone ahead and tried to get that job, but a lot of the times we're trying to earn our salvation, and God's like, you are trying to steal something that I've already paid for.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's not stolen goods.
It's yours.
If it's already been given to you.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to my relationship with God, that was a twist for me because I'm a work hard, try hard, earn it, prove it kind of person.
Which you've done your whole life. And it's done you well.
To a point.
I mean, I'm talking about your work life.
And work life.
Yes.
But let me tell you something. Your greatest assets, and you know this, if you're a go-getter, can be my greatest fault when it comes to my faith walk.
100%, right.
Because I'm like trying so hard to
I don't need you, God, I'm good.
Or like, how can is this good enough?
Yeah.
Is that good enough? And like the day I realized, like even with that analogy, that like he is carrying us to a place he's already paid for. Like we do not have to earn God's love. We do not have to earn our spot. It really takes a load off your worthiness earnings through the day. Like you're trying to like just prove that you're okay enough.
Yeah.
And so I think that was revolutionary in my heart because in my walk, I want to be an earner. I was raised to feel good about what I earned and what I worked hard at. And it's like, this is different.
Yeah.
This is different.
Yeah.
Heaven's math is so different.
Right.
Thank goodness, because we never...
There's freedom in that heaven's math.
So much freedom. And it doesn't mean you don't work hard. I think sometimes there can be a little like sense of like, okay, I'll just chill out. Like God is not asking us of that. He's given us specific gifts to accelerate in. Go get them.
Yep.
But it's the why and how you do that, I think that for me has been in this like 40-ish season, like so cool to walk into.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm not on the sidelines. He's put us in the game. Like he has us here with our unique gifts and circumstances to use them well for his glory. But it's very different than using our gifts to like earn a spot in the kingdom.
Right.
Because that's impossible.
That's impossible.
Which
so you
is so
talk
cool.
about going to Fox. And so you head over to Fox. And this weekend when I was traveling, doesn't matter. Terrible delays. I got like 5 hours of sleep before I had to be on a stage the next Sunday morning. But listen, I thought Elisabeth used to work on 3 hours of sleep.
It didn't go well, Jamie.
It didn't, but you did it for years. I did it one night. I was like, if Elisabeth can talk about the news in Syria and the worst things in the world on 3 hours of sleep, I can talk about Jesus. But anyhow,
I should not have been talking about any of those things on 3 hours of sleep.
You head over to Fox, and it is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
I mean, you are now you went from these are my opinions to these are the facts and this is what's happening. And did you feel underqualified for that?
Way underqualified. I feel like I'm just like love something that I'm unqualified for. Like I don't know what it is about me. It's a strange
you're a
addiction
go-getter.
to
You're like,
being
I can do this.
All right, I'm going to go, I don't know.
My question for you as you left Fox, basically you're saying, I'm going to go home to my family. Yeah. You talk a lot more about in the book about how that season was super hard for you because it was hard. I mean, you're up at 2 a.m., which, by the way, when you said that Tim got up and made you tea or coffee then took you to the door.
Yeah, he basically carried me to the door. I'm not a morning person.
Oh, that's so nice.
He knew I was not leaving the house.
He
did not do that. Like this was loving, yes, and caring. But he was like, if I don't walk her there, she's
sleeping in.
She might fall back asleep.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so hard for me just because Tim would tell me, he's like, you've got to give up on the day. And unfortunately, what happens is when you drain yourself, you drain your surrounding people.
Yeah.
Like I drained my whole team. Like Tim was drained because he was up late with me and waking me up in the morning. My kids were drained because I was a crank. I mean, I literally lost like sensation and desire to play with them. I just went into total numbness. And I think it must have been burnout or drain out is the term now. But I think I was just so burned out because I didn't do the things to well equip me for the next day. But I will say this, looking at it now behind this lens, I feel like God weakens me or allows that or uses that time of weakness to really bring me to a place where I acknowledge that I need a lot more of him.
Like this complete surrender type thing.
Yeah, because I was so physically weak and so underqualified. There was nothing of my own that I had to offer outside of just loving the people I was with.
Yeah.
Like I'm really good at being like, let's hang out.
Yeah.
Like, hi, Brian. Hi, Steve. Like I love my whole team. But I think technically speaking, I was just struggling and schedule-wise, I was struggling so much. And so God just used that well, knowing that I went ahead of him a little bit in time to just bring me literally on my knees. And thankfully, I have the best teammate in Tim. He's awesome. The fact that he did that. I mean, he would even put up, I thought green juice would help me for a little while in the morning.
So would he get up and make you green juice?
He would just deal with the blender sound. Like it was horrible. The poor guy. And the coolest thing about, I think, us is that we've always had our own things going on where we don't, like, it doesn't let us, like, hyper-focus too much. We really want to know how the other's doing. And so we can, I feel like we're focused so much on each other that it doesn't let us get, like, for one bit prideful about what we do.
Yeah.
And listen, I think sometimes, like, our vocation, we've happened to have, like, some bizarre ones, and our location, those can be confusing sometimes and sometimes mistaken for identity. Like, he played in the NFL for 9 years.
Yeah.
If that were his identity and every team was his identity, that shield has a limit.
Yep. Because you can't play forever.
Each team has a limit.
Yep.
If you identify with that, that's dangerous. So I think with every job we've had or calling, that's your location and vocation. Two great things.
Yeah.
Two great gifts to be used well. But I think when we ever confuse them with our identity, then when it's taken away, and I think it happened at The View, without me knowing it was happening.
You had to feel that of like...
You're like, whoa, who am I now? And so that's a danger. And I think having wrongly identified with things too much as my identity, that's where it got it hurts more.
Yeah.
It just does. When your identity is rested in solely who God says you are, all these things can change and will without as much pain. I think the hardest thing is as a mom, because I super identify as like wife, mom, and like all the things that I do creatively, but like I can hold that so tight.
Oh, yeah.
and be like, this is
who I am.
Yeah, and if it's like taking me down, I'm like, ooh, that might not be the crown.
Right.
That just might not be the crown.
Yeah.
If it has if something went wrong in that category and it totally sinks me, I'm like, that must have been placing my identity too much in that.
Well, my question for you when you were at Fox is because that was really hard in your motherhood journey because you weren't taking care of yourself.
Right.
And so if you couldn't take care of yourself, you're having a hard time taking care of Tim, your family at home, all the things. And so for the first time, it feels like this was a lot harder. The hours are harder. Mm-hmm. The information's harder.
Yes.
Everything's harder. And when you left there, you said it was time for my family to get the best of me and not the rest of me. And I remember reading that, and I want to ask you this because I feel like a lot of times women can struggle and can maybe look at you or maybe me and say, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. What if I could be like them? What if I could have this job? Or what if I could be an executive? Or what if I could start my own company? I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And I think it's really important for us women to talk about that because you looked around at your family and said, I need to come home. I need to come home because we're not surviving. No one's surviving here.
Right.
And I think there's this false idea that staying home and let me just preface this with, I have been a full-time stay-at-home mom. I'm so thankful for my job now because I'm there when my kids go off the bus. I'm there in the sun, all the things. Yeah. I also really love working. Like it's been this thing for me that I really love it. But there's sometimes this thing that women go through where we think we always want what the other person has.
Sure.
What did that feel like for you with your identity saying, I'm going to go home?
Sure. That was, I think one of first, I have to say, and I write it in the book, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're a working mom, we are all full-time moms. Yep. And so our momming, there's no scale or sliding scale on there for our value as moms. God specifically has given us these children in unique ways and through a number of different paths, and also our vocations to just give him the glory. And so he's placed us in these situations. He gives us full permission to be at work with these gifts he's given us for his kingdom. And so I've always, even now, I'm writing, I'm still working. Yep. It's a little more flexible. Flexibility for me tends to be a currency. Yeah. Can I make this work? And I think moms are awesome at assessing the situation. I mean, where do I need to slide in and cut in, and where can I make this work? We're always trying to figure out how to make it work for a broad group of people. Mm-hmm. I think we're, executive managers all the time. And so I think that you're the most challenging career move and that I will make, the most challenging career day is when I'm trying to figure out what's best for my family. Mm-hmm. And then when I have my job too, sometimes it's a choice. I didn't grow up where working was an option.
Yeah.
Or I knew fully well that when I left Fox, that was a privilege to be able to do that. So I don't mistake that one day for.
That's good, yeah.
That was a choice that I had to make. That I could make.
To make, yeah.
And so there are so many
situations. That's not reality for a lot of
situations.
people.
It's not.
Right.
And so I knew that just because of where life had, launched me, that's not a common decision to be able to make. So I actually carried a lot of weight after that, being like, I hope I don't make any mom ever feel guilty for being in the work. I'm working right now.
Yeah.
This is we're doing it and there's purpose behind it, but we are using our crafts for good in a work environment that might have more flexibility than some certain jobs. But I have such great value. My mom's a working mom right now. She's at the office right now. I grew up seeing that. And whether you're at home or in the office, you are purposed. God is using you. And so it's not I think we just need to realize we really need each other. And sometimes it's a different season.
Yep.
I could see Grace getting older in a teen season where if I could work and see her in the morning, I was giving breaking news globally, but getting briefed on my kids. So I was the first to know what happened in Syria overnight, or Europe, or China, or a plane, but I had no idea what was going on with my kids. So for me personally, I just felt like I was out of lane. And for our marriage, I think sometimes it's how your team works. I felt like Tim was running the sprints that I was made to run. Uh-huh. And I was lifting the weights that he was meant to lift. It was just out of order. And you can do that for seasons in your marriage. Yep. And I feel like Tim and I have always been able to be like, okay, well, we can work here. And he left the NFL because he didn't want to live away from us. He stepped out of his career at a time when he could have done a year, 2, 3 more. And said, I don't want to commute away from my family like that with a baby. And so he's made those decisions too. Guys don't really get credit for sliding in and out of jobs, but they carry a ton of weight on them. And I think for our team, the things that brought me joy I was opting out of.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see my home anymore. I couldn't see, and I was so physically weakened by not sleeping. It was just the wrong position for me, how I'm specifically wired.
Yeah.
But I was so thankful to do it. And so we do this as moms. We do this as women. We're like, what's the right thing for me right now? Assess the situation, see the opportunities, and then pick a lane. But I think we really just need to be, and we are for the most part, great teammates to one another. Like when I had hours at Fox, I missed my daughter's first day of school ever.
I love what you wrote about that.
Like that was a bad thing. Okay, I'm like banned from PTA meetings from this point forward.
You're good.
Like we need the mom when you're in high power work season. You need the mom who's got the school schedule to shoot you a text. But it takes humility to be like, hey, I'm going to be at this meeting. Can you just text me when the signups come out? Like I've had the best moms who, when I was in a really busy work season, would remind me, hey, the sign up genius is going out. So you might want to, so you can get the napkins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you can bring the napkins.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're the mom who's making the cupcakes that are personally decorated and monogrammed for every kid. Whatever your gifts are, we need each other. And listen, I hope that I can be that mom for the other mom. And so sometimes I have friends who are like, I'm a better mom when I'm at the office for 4 hours to 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you. You know, I think it's the coolest thing as women.
It's so good. And I think I just want women to not feel guilty wherever God has them.
Yeah.
If you need to work, maybe you're a single mom.
Yes.
You're the only option.
Yeah.
Then that's what God has put you there, and you get to be the best mom and the best worker, all of it together. And I don't like the guilt of if you're not, one's not better.
Right. We have guilt. We have like FOMO. The working moms sometimes get FOMO, and the stay-at-home moms don't get FOMO.
Totally.
And I think the thing too is that just giving ourselves permission, like you said, to be exactly where we are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not about us. You might be right in the studio today because there's someone you're going to walk by who just needs your smile.
Yeah.
You might be in a place, I tell this to my kids all the time, like this might not be about you, that team you're getting assigned. It might not be about you that if you have a weekend trip with a group of kids and that's your cabin mates, it might not be about you.
And chances your interactions.
Are, based on the God that I'm like trying to get to know more and more about, it's more about the people around you that He's going to use you to reach their hearts. Yeah. So you might be in your work environment today listening to this or on your way there, like there's someone there that needs you and needs your heart, and that God's going to use you there. So feel that alone for relationship is so great. Yeah. Because if we all just stayed where we are, and if we all just went where we thought we were supposed to, we'd be in the wrong place. Yeah. Like I think where God has you is exactly where He's going to use you well. And sometimes that's my prayer, like, God, use me well here. And when I finally got home, golly, I messed that up. I was like, well, I have this now. I did not surrender to God's will when I left the workforce.
You had the same, like, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I don't need anything.
I thought, well, gosh, you had me in the hard stuff. Now I'll take this. And it was right there where He's like, oh my word, you are headed for a crash. And it was. I messed everything up at home because I wasn't asking for His guidance and help at home. Yeah. I was like, now that I'm out of talking about like terror attacks and war zones and this, like, I'm
what
good.
Could be worse?
Like, I'll call you later, God, when I need you. And that was the biggest mistake. I need Him just as much making breakfast because I'm a mess without Him. Yeah. And so I need all the same God. I need to call upon the same way.
No matter what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because speaking of working mom stuff, before I left to come out of town on this trip, my family was having dinner. And I was like, okay, guys, I want to talk to you all about something. I said, whenever mom's out of town, I'm going to need you to not call me and ask me if you can go to someone's house or whatever because your dad's here. Like, ask your dad. And one of my kids goes, but Mom, you do that so well. Like, Dad doesn't do that well. And he's like, I don't do that well. Keep calling your mom. And I was like, it was like this. Sometimes it has been frustrating to me on the road. Like, a kid called me one time to ask me a question. I said, where's your dad? They said, he's downstairs. I was like, okay, you need to walk downstairs and ask your dad. But my son was like, but Mom, you do that the best. And so I was like, okay, I can do both. Yeah. I can keep things together here and I can still go on the road. And Aaron, my husband, was like, call your mom. Don't ask me anything.
Great,
I can do this.
Did you feel so like justified in like your purpose?
I felt so loved because I was trying to tell them, don't do that when I'm gone. Like, figure it out. Talk to your dad. And they were all looking at me like, no, Mom. We have to call you.
Kids are really good at like magnifying and like showing you, reflecting you back, like your gifts, and also like where you need someone else to have those gifts.
And I did love it that my husband too. I thought he'd be like, Yeah, ask me. I can handle it. He's like, no, Jamie, we need you.
Right. You're like, I would be like, yes, badge of honor.
Yes,
That's me.
yes.
I'm in charge of that. I'm in charge of something.
I'll take it. Elizabeth, I love hearing about how God has used you. And thank you for all your years in the public eye of having people like myself look up to you and see someone who can stand on the truth of what they believe with kindness and love. And it's been an honor to talk to you today.
Oh, gosh. It's been an honor to be here. And God just was really good to me all those years. I really felt his hand in all of it. And when I would have when I didn't ask him for his grace, it didn't come out with grace. So I'm just thankful that most of the days I knew to just turn to him and only ask for like Holy Spirit to just
speak through you.
Yeah. Because it was an honor to be in those situations. And it's an honor to just be able to have done it with the ability and trust that I have a God who was with me and went before me. So I'm just thankful for all of it. And I'm so thankful to be here. I feel like you are a knockout mom. You're awesome.
So
You're
so
really
sweet.
good at what you're doing. I just love following you and seeing like the thread you are in so many hearts. So I just hope you feel encouraged to like keep doing the Jamie thing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
And I just visited Boston recently.
Go Beantown.
And had my very first lobster roll. Lobster, sorry.
Yeah, lobster.
And I liked it. I say I liked it. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but I liked it. But I love clam chowder, and so I ate like 3 bowls while I was there.
Boston is great. Went to school and worked there for many years. Met Tim there. Was engaged on the bridge going over the river there, and it's just
sweet memories.
It's a sweet place. We love going back with the kids. But Nashville's been, I think, the exact place for our family.
Needed, yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Okay, I always end asking people what they're reading and what they're loving. Okay. So what are you reading and what are some things you're loving?
Right now, I'm loving just summer on the horizon. I love a non-schedule where you can just kind of like not have anything to wake up for early. Must be my lack of morning nature. And then I'm reading right now Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy.
Okay.
It's just a neat book. It actually really helped me. We went on a family vacation and I was terrified to go on this Jeep tour that was going to slide down the canyons. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I've exhausted my adventure tank. I'm good. I'm going to ruin our family vacation crying on this Jeep. And so I did this visualization technique and it totally helped me.
Really?
Oh, not only did I not fear the Jeep, I enjoyed it.
That's good.
It was awesome. And it's just kind of finding fortitude through loss and victory, how like wins and losses can both be your best friends.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed reading the book. It's an older book. I don't know if it's being republished, but a friend recommended it to me, and I am diving into that right now, which is fun.
Love it. I love it.
And I'm loving the horizon of just like s'mores at nighttime. I'm waiting for just s'mores.
Oh, great.
And I'm loving Danita's children in Haiti.
Which it's on. We didn't even get to talk about it.
I know.
2 of my kids were born in Haiti.
It's a large reason why I just started just loving you. It was like auto love.
Yeah. I know. You meet people and you're like, oh, we have this connection.
Where are they from in Haiti?
A little village called Cazel,
Yes.
which is up the mountain from Cabaret, which is on a main room out of Port-au-Prince.
Yes.
So they're both were born around Cazel and then lived there till they came home. And they've been home 9 years. I don't talk about adoption a lot because it doesn't feel like that's my lane. These are just my kids.
I love
which is
that.
good, I guess.
I just love it.
Yeah.
Well, I love that about you. I think it's just like they're your kids.
Yeah. It's just feel.
And I love Haiti. My daughter is funny. When we got back from Haiti, she immediately packed a bag and a note like next time Haiti. Like she's just ready to go at any time. She literally has like a getaway bag.
That's so good.
To just go at any point, which is awesome. She went when she was 11, and I'm like, this is
great.
It's like a second home and heart to us. Yeah. So those are kind of the things that I'm loving. The season of summer. I hope to get back to Haiti soon and reading Inner Excellence.
I love it.
What are you reading?
Well, this is not a lie. You can see it's marked up. I just read your book on the plane.
You're so sweet.
I don't know what I'll read next, whatever, is coming at me. But I am reading Michael Hyatt's new book, Something About Focus.
Okay, good. I need that.
Yeah. It's good.
I need that.
Yes. It's about
hard to focus.
How to kind of get in the thing. So I like what Michael Hyatt does. But Elisabeth, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. This
For
was
real.
a joy. I just
Such
am
a joy.
so glad to just see you and spend time with you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Love you.
Guys, don't forget about ThreadUp. It's the world's largest online consignment and thrift store. They make it easy to stay on trend and on budget with up to 90% off top brands like Reformation, Nike, Free People, which is my favorite, especially at 90% off, you guys, and so many more brands. all from the comfort of your own home. Never pay full price again and shop guilt-free with ThredUp. Get an extra 30% off your first order at thredup.com/happy hour. That's ThredUp, ThredUp.com/happy hour for an extra 30% off today. Terms apply. Okay, did you love it? Did you love it? Did you love it? I loved my conversation with Elisabeth. I told you she was so kind, so genuine, beautiful inside and out. I just loved it. There's something that she said that has stuck with me since our time together. And she said this: let go of the white-knuckled grip on your position and hold an open hand for your neighbor. That stuck with me, guys. In a world where it can sometimes look like there are all these lines drawn and people gathering on their own side of a view, I'm grateful that through Elisabeth's life, that God's word had led her to the understanding that her grip needs to be both held and open to her neighbor. I want to be that neighbor that is willing to sit with others, that I don't always share the same point of view. And I loved Elisabeth talking about how she learned that in this journey. Oh, she was just so genuine and honest with her journey there. Point of View, her new book, is available now, and it'd be a great summer read, you guys. There's a link in the show notes so you can easily find where to get your own copy of Elisabeth's book. Speaking of, all of the show notes have the link to our sponsors. We've got links for ThredUp and ZipRecruiter and Nations Photo Lab, all right there for you to see as well. Today's show was edited by Chris with Podshaper, and the music was developed for the show by Matt Graham. Show notes are written by Aki Slockers, and the whole thing is organized by Lindsay Sweeney. Next week, my guest is my friend Vivian Mabuni. We met years ago at If Gathering, and she quickly became one of the people that I admire for her faithfulness to the ministry of making disciples. If you aren't familiar with Vivian, I promise you, you will want to know her, and she's coming on the show next week, so you can get to know her a little bit through the happy hour. You guys, enjoy your week. Share the show with a girlfriend. Have a happy hour with a friend. I'm on the beach this week, and I'm going to my happy, happy, happy place, and I can't wait to get there. So whatever you're doing this week, whether it's the mundane, whether it's the exciting trip you've been waiting for, I hope that you will reach out to a friend and do it together. See you guys next week.